You are listening to the Light Overtime Podcast with David Sargent and Korey Bartos. A lot of vocal fry on that one. How are you, bud?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. I just got back from going to Factory Coffee and got a latte and a shot. I'm going to buy a bag of their Wild Child blend and send it to you because I'm impressed. I think it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's got some weirdness going on that's just delightful to drink. So
Do they roast their own?
Oh yeah, Factory Coffee does all their own roast, which is really nice.
Yeah.
They're pretty cool people. I don't have a ton of experience talking to them directly, but I've talked to the owner a couple times, and I may or may not be helping them with some photography soon, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
After a message that I just got. But yeah, I've been stopping in, and you get a free cup of coffee when you buy a bag. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get a shot too before I leave, just while I wait for, my coffee or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Blew me away yesterday, so I had to do it again today. Got a latte and then got a shot while I waited. And it's like the most complex berry, like it almost tastes like it's flavored. That's how that's how wild it is. So I was really into it. It has made me. Yeah, it has made me reconsider completely going bananas on an espresso machine when I move into my place in April. So,
Yeah, I mean, the options are endless, right? So, you mentioned to me you were going to look at some hardware too. Did you grab anything?
some what?
I thought you were going to get like a kettle and stuff.
Oh, not today. No. Okay.
Okay.
I have two kettles at work, and which is insane. And I have two pour over devices at work, 2.5 if you count my like Black Rifle coffee one. And I need one here. And I was like, I make all my coffee during the week, at the shop. But then what happens when I'm here for the 2 days of the week? And I hate myself. I go to Factory Coffee.
At least you have that option, so that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And you love it, so that's cool.
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
have.
What are you drinking?
Well, actually, just water because I did a tasting this morning. I had a couple of friends over, and if you guys don't know, I roast my own coffee. If you're new here today, I roast my own coffee, and often I need feedback. This is how roasters grow, especially when you're just starting out. Basically, I mean, any creative outlet needs feedback, right? So I invite people over often, and I did that today. We did 4 or 5 different coffees, so I'm good. I've got water and I'm good.
Yeah, you're caffeinated well.
Yeah,
That's nice. I love a good tasting. I'll have to come up back up at some time. Maybe we can plan an in-person episode and do a tasting and
that'd
stuff,
be
make some
really
content
cool.
together.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, so the first order of business, I want to start these shows off with what you've been working on this week. I'll go first this week. I'm starting to realize that I have to do reels for work, and I don't really want to. They're kind of bad. So I'm starting to get better ideas for short form content in terms of like segments. We already do FAQ Friday. I'm thinking about doing, unfortunately, Flat Range Friday is also a Friday thing. But I'm trying to come up with, catchy little things to do. And this is the part of marketing that's very boring to me. Because it's like, how do you market the good idea you have instead of just create content? And I think it's important in such a saturated content market to make it kind of like a show, taking a note from traditional media, and like, people have an expectation for when you have an FAQ Friday or when you have a, this segment on Tuesday, maybe steal 2-minute Tuesday that everybody does, or something like that. But I'm working on that, and I'm trying to build out, after watching a lot of different content creators talk about growth and things like that, what would work translated to the company I work for, what a posting schedule looks like, so I can start to actually like track metrics for growth and reach and things like that. Our account's shadow banned, so growth is pretty challenging, but we're out here, we're working on it.
Yeah, and I can imagine I mean, of course, the pressure and importance of trying to figure out short form content for everybody right now is pretty, prioritized. I'm in the same boat. I've got this page that I've got ideas on, and my brother sent me this cool thing somebody did on TikTok. He's like, I think you can translate this into coffee. And I looked it up on YouTube just to see who else is doing this idea. And there's like one guy doing this one idea that I'm going to start doing. He's got millions of views and nobody's really doing it. And I think I can do it with a little better production quality. So I think, you got to think about these things, and I'm sure is difficult in your industry because you have to balance out what do I prioritize, the information and education versus entertainment value, and everyone's trying to figure that balance out. How do you hook someone in 2 to 3 seconds and then provide just a dense amount of value in like 30 or 60 seconds or whatever it is?
Yeah, and it's for those who don't know, I've kind of alluded to it. I'm not going to talk about it a lot on this show because I don't think the overarching industry is important for our topics. But I do work in the firearms industry, and a lot of the a lot of the content's either to me really annoying and like super like bro heavy or like dude culture, which I don't like dude culture, and I think there's a way to make interesting content without just defaulting there, or it's just like the most ridiculous, getting to the borderline unsafe. And I want to make things fun and sick and like really interesting without going into the tropes that I know people like and the content will do well. So like, how do you the answer is you experiment, but like that sweet spot where I still feel proud of what I'm doing and I'm not contributing to like garbage culture is really important to me. So
yeah, I can imagine you'll have difficulties, but I think it's important for everyone, not just you, but to remember to like if you're especially in like the lifestyle photography, videography, whatever it is, to diversify the types of lifestyles you can imagine using services or products in this kind of industry. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sure you've got a mind of it. So we'll see what you come up with.
We're out here.
Yeah,
for sure. What about you? What have you been working on?
So I did a photo shoot this week, a couple days ago. We have these candlelight hikes is what they're called, where there's some trails and they put out these like solar powered little what are they called? Not candles, but they're like electric, just little lights, basically, just lights that sit on the ground and they kind of line a trail. And our city has been trying to promote them for years now. And I've developed a pretty good relationship with the person who does the procurement for services like mine, photography, and they've been using me for a while now. And we did a photo shoot with a set of influencers, and I got to pose them along this trail, and we did this last year. And if you're in Michigan and you're on Facebook or Instagram, you might have seen my image pop up in the Pure Michigan campaign. I've seen it like a dozen or 2 times now. It's this couple on top of a sand dune, sunset. It's a pretty awesome hero shot, if I say so myself. I'm proud of it. But I keep seeing it because Pure Michigan is now sponsoring that page or that image. Linking back to the Visit Charlevoix tab, and then you can find all the information, blah, blah, blah. That's advertising. The fun part for me is that I got to shoot that last year, and it was awesome. And I've developed this relationship with my contact, and we got to do it again this year with a different set of people. And just like clockwork, the clouds opened up, and about 20 minutes before the sunset, I could see we had a chance for a really nice sunset, and we got like 15 minutes of like this gorgeous orange magical light. So I was really excited. It's not photography for me. It's not like super artsy stuff that I get to put in my portfolio, but I got some really cool stuff. We got to recreate the magic we did last year, and I'm excited to edit it. I haven't ingested it yet, but I'm really excited to look at it. I know my contact is excited to hear from me, so we're gonna take a look at that. But overall, I kind of wanted to just touch on the topic for you photographers out there, even videographers. Make friends with people in the right places. And one of those right places is tourism boards. If you're a photographer who likes to do lifestyle, food photography, real estate, there's a bunch of subjects where somebody in a tourism board who's looking for photographers might need that type of work done. And often is the case for me. So probably 5 to 10 times a year, we have projects where I'm going out to hotels, doing real estate work for hotels, or I'm doing food photography for restaurants. If you can develop a relationship with the right person in your town or nearby town, or if you're willing to travel, these kinds of people are looking for photographers and videographers. And I know this is a topic that's important because getting work, especially when you're just starting out, can be really hard. Knowing the right kinds of people is like the most important key, basically, to life, to getting anywhere in life.
Yeah.
But, in this industry, knowing the right kind of people is just paramount to your success.
So it's always been super important to remember that if you don't have your like talents in your community, it's going to be super important for you to start digging them in somehow. I had mentioned at the beginning of this show that I'm probably talking to Factory about doing some photos for them. The reason why they asked me and they're interested is because I did some free content for Loot Energy, and I took some photos of their cans of energy drinks, and they were like, we loved what you did with that. We'd like to talk to you about doing some stuff for an upcoming product or two. And I did that because the guy who owns Loot Energy is a friend of a friend, and I just thought it was fun. I knew that I liked doing product photography, and I hadn't done beverages, so the image that they actually use as their like social media profile picture right now was this image that I had kind of always wanted to do for beverage product photos. I did it, I kind of nailed it, and they really loved it. So that alone had dividends in that I will probably get some kind of partnership work now, because I just reached out to somebody who did something cool, who was also, at my level. They weren't like, a big beverage company. You're not going to go to Coca-Cola and get a gig just by like taking a photo of their cans or whatever, but like stay in your lane and find, people that also don't have a giant team, who have like a reasonably sized budget, and kind of work with them and partner up, because I can tell you, somebody with a small budget who's going to ask you to come back 3 or 4 times a year is a whole lot better than somebody with a huge budget that maybe will ask you once, and then you probably won't work with them again for another year or two or whatever. You can kind of chip away and start building retainer clients, and that's just kind of always better. Build a community of clients who like your work and want to work with you as friends way before you just try to get, popping off and you think you're going to get a $10,000 like gig, because it's hard. It's tough stuff. There's a lot of people doing it, and there's a lot of people doing it at a really high level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is where like focusing on your community first is really important. If you live like in New York or LA or something, it's going to be extremely hard for you to differentiate early on. So the important part for basically everyone is to focus on honing your craft, building your portfolio, and those clients will eventually come to you. But it is important that you put the work in finding the right people. Once you think you've got the portfolio to prove yourself, my portfolio had been kind of built up already, and this the contact that I have reached out to me first, but I bet it probably would have been just worked out for me if I reached out. So mutually, we were kind of already on the same wavelength. I had strengths in like landscape photography and all these other things that I do, where the Visitors Bureau here in Charlevoix needs those kinds of images to help market Charlevoix as a place where people want to come all times of the year. And that relationship has built on itself into different areas of photography that I don't necessarily specialize in, but I've gotten some pretty great imagery just being open to the projects that they think they need done. And they could have gone to other people, but I said, no, I'll do it. And I know that my pricing is competitive too. My contact has told me, hey, your pricing is pretty good and we're going to keep you on. So sometimes it's important not to undersell yourself, but other times, like you were saying, to retain clients multiple times a year is a really valuable thing, because you can grow together and be synchronized. And, I'm often going to my person saying, hey, I think this would be a great idea. What do you think? And they'll be like, oh, cool. All right, let's put it in for the budget for next quarter. Those things build on themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's important to remember that like you should be putting stuff in your portfolio that you want to be shooting. I was taking product photos of beverages and things, and now I'm getting offered work to do beverage product photography, right? Like you have to show people that you do what they want, and that's how they'll get you. If you're like, yeah, I'd really love to push into like the wedding space, but you're just photographing dogs and guitars like I do, you're not really gonna make it happen, right? There's a lot of opportunity to get, friend couples. I know so many photographers that will, pose their friends as though that's their engagement and things like that, and you just make a portfolio of engagement. You don't have to do engagement shoots. Get some, cute couple friends together and make it look like you're doing an engagement shoot. It gives you practice in what you want to do, which is super important, because you'll never be good enough and you'll always want to be better. Like that's just how photography is. Like always improve, always make great things, and you'll get better work and you'll get more work and you'll be doing stuff that you love. But you have to show people that you do those things. So you sent me a link today that I feel very passionate about, and I want to kind of go through some of these topics, not too long-winded, but it looks like Meta is looking at having a paid subscription version of Instagram, which will be similar to like Twitter Blue. You get your verification, and what I don't like about it is you also get prioritized like searchability or discoverability if you pay for it, which is kind of busted because it's not cheap. It's looking like it's probably $12 or $15 if you're on Apple. If you're not familiar with why that's the case, it's because Apple takes 30% of all their app income, and companies will make you eat that so they don't eat it. But I hate this. I think, I want to preface with I love Twitter, and I think Twitter is an incredibly powerful social media. And if you hate Twitter, it's probably because you're not using it correctly, and you're like looking at stuff that doesn't make you happy. It's very easy to curate, in my opinion, on Twitter, which is why I like it. But the recent Twitter Blue, the verification process has been a mess. They proved that it was a mess when people were like basically taking advantage of the ability to make you look legit, and they got some pretty big companies in a little bit of heat, and that's mostly tamed down, but it makes the verification checkmark basically pointless. Now I don't even notice it because it's just most people have Twitter Blue.
Yeah, I also hate this in just about every way. And I think we may have had this conversation in the past where there's a scenario where I would be not happy, but I would be very content with paying a price for using, let's say, Facebook. Actually, Facebook was what I was talking about in the past, where there are definitely certain images that get compressed to hell and back. And I would pay not $12 a month, but I would pay some amount to have like a higher quality upload. Sometimes images just look so bad on Facebook, and to a similar extent Instagram, but for a lot of reasons that's not as bad of an issue. You're using Instagram on mobile most of the time on very small screens. Compression doesn't have the same kind of impact. On Facebook, I would have happily sort of paid for, let's say, $5 a month or something to have like a really nice upload quality, similar to like Flickr. Flickr forever was like the go-to if you didn't want somebody to see a compressed image, high resolution, but like low compression means, much better care when it comes to like artifacting and things within compression, like dark areas of low-key images especially come to mind. So in this case, yes, you get somehow some better reach and searchability, visibility, whatever. Hate that. That's pay to win. But also prioritize support, which is like total BS to me. I feel like shouldn't everyone get the best level of support that the company has to offer, right? We're all users, and they've profited heavily off of absolutely everyone who signs up for their platform.
Yeah, it's first of all, that's just a mess. Their support process right now is already abysmal. It's basically useless. And I told you, like, again, my account is regularly shadow banned, and we get things pulled even when following TOS. And it's because it looks like we're trying to sell like guns. We do not sell guns. I do not sell guns. And under their their rules. We are also not selling regulated items. We're not selling stuff like that. And it's such a pain that like I can have keywords that would make you almost assume that I was trying to sell a gun, but I'm not. And I have to be so careful about my words. And then when something gets pulled or we lose our entire account of almost 150,000 followers, it takes an incredible amount of time to even get a resolve. And some people aren't so lucky and they don't get a resolve at all. And so, like, first of all, you're going to have me think it's a good idea to pay for something that already doesn't work and hope that it's going to be better. I think that's busted. I think the fact that they don't even have a source of like, they don't have a real share for ad space. And now if you're on a friend's page, every like 5 posts or whatever, you still get an ad for looking at your friends' pages and stuff like that, not even just the main feed. So like where are these ad shares happening for people that are creating content and anything on there? You can't make me pay for something when you already aren't, doing something even one half as good as YouTube is. So like, and YouTube has its whole slew of issues as well, but like, come on, dude.
Yeah, just about every part of this is garbage to me. I mean, it's offensive. I mean, the quote is, if I can read it, Meta Verified, a subscription service that lets you verify your account with a government ID, get a blue badge, get extra impersonation protection against accounts claiming to be you, and get direct access to customer support. Why should we have to pay $12 a month just to get impersonation protection and direct access to customer support? These are things, maybe not impersonation protection, that's pretty that's kind of isolated to social media, but direct access to customer support, people shouldn't have to pay a monthly fee to have help when your platform is causing an issue.
First of all, I have a friend, Max, who has a skincare company, and she has a pretty successful following. Like, her personal channel has a pretty big following, over 25,000 or something like that. So she's got some views. And somebody made a copy of her skincare company and was, like, legitimately trying to do fake giveaways. And we had, like, hundreds of people report this page and say, no, it's literally this person's page, this is fake. And they're like, nope, we didn't see that there was enough evidence because it's automatic, that this was a problem at all. Sorry, bye, suck it. And it's like, hold on, what do you mean? It's literally a copy trying to give away and scam people. And you're not gonna have even a sophisticated enough system to notice that when all of their messaging is like, hey, sign up for this giveaway, like, come on, dude.
Yeah, numerous times I've reported accounts for similar things on Facebook, especially of either impersonators or just straight up scams, and it's often the wording that gives it away. Poor grammar, they're pretending to be someone who they're not, obviously, and they're trying to get you to sign up for things to eventually steal your data or just get you to buy something that you're never going to see, you're never going to be made whole. And in fact, I just ran into this yesterday. A photographer that I follow on Facebook put out a call for help. He has like a huge following, probably more than 10,000 followers on Facebook. And he said, hey, I just found this account that's been stealing my images and cropping out the watermarks and posting them as their own. And this scam account has over 11,000 followers. And so it's significant to the point where there's a potential for them to eventually monetize the use of someone else's content, because it wasn't just their images they were stealing. It was a lot of them. It was a wildlife photographer. So they're taking images from a lot of very, very good wildlife photographers and spreading it out, claiming it as their own. And so this photographer got the help of a lot of their followers to go report the page, and I did as well. We left bad reviews because it was an obvious scammer. And when I went into the review section, there were tons of reviews for something that looked entirely different. So this page has been transformed multiple times to scam in different ways. And I don't know how it's gone this long without being taken down, but eventually enough of us from this big photographer's following reported the page, and I think now it's down, but it's been years, like 4 or 5 years that this account's been up trying to scam people. It looks like they may have been successful because they're at 11,000 followers. I don't know how many of those followers are bots, but it's been years.
Yeah, it's just for Meta to even think that they're doing a good enough job in any stretch of their business to charge us almost $15 a month for basically nothing. It does piss me off. There isn't anybody coming to the table that creates a better platform. I'm probably going to push a lot for Twitter growth this year. I'm going to start posting, quad photo sets on Twitter and doing a lot more YouTube and basically kind of whittling away what I'm doing personally on Instagram, because it already has basically just been, unless you have like block comments from people that don't follow you, all of the engagement is just random bots that have like somebody's first name and like 10 characters of numbers and letters, and it's just a mess. And this is like every like I get on all my stories is some random bot that's like, not safe for work. And it's I have 6 Instagram accounts. I run 6 daily Instagram accounts where I am looking at these things because it's my job. And I have my toes and talons and a lot of stuff. This is happening across all of them in different industries. Like, they're not all photo pages. There's a business page, there's a guitar page, there's a photo page, there's just like my normal, side life page. I have a lot of stuff. It's like the same style of bots. It's the same kind of stuff. It's like the platform is a mess. I like stories, and that's kind of where my friends are, because Facebook is now just like kind of old people and like family members to me. It's not really like a serious platform. So I don't know what to do. I got to double down on Twitter, because like Twitter's doing great right now. And, this will segue into our next topic here in a second, but YouTube is going to see probably some pretty big changes soon.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in seeing where social goes, because right now it kind of sucks.
It's not new, right? We've been dealing with this for a long time, and it's no account is safe as far as like being protected from these scammer accounts, these spam accounts. I had a friend who just signed up for Instagram, who tries to not be on any social media, but he just signed up to Instagram specifically to keep up with my coffee content. No followers, 1 following, which is me, and he's already had like 10 bot accounts try to solicit things from him or whatever, just total scams that are probably automated. It's like, if he can't be protected, following nobody but me, following nobody else, and not having any followers himself, like, who can be? Like, even if big accounts can't, like, should he have to pay $12 a month when he has no other use for this platform? I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's garbage, man. It is what it is. Speaking about YouTube, so the CEO, Susan Wojcicki, just stepped down. I don't know how much you know about Susan Wojcicki. She's been a part of the YouTube space for a long, long time.
Yeah, I have a brief understanding of the history, but I don't know what her day-to-day impact really was.
Yeah, I assume a lot of things. Like, she definitely spearheaded a lot of stuff at YouTube the last handful of years. But if there's one thing that I'm hopeful for, that I pray happens, is they bring back dislikes. Bring me back dislike numbers, baby. I need that stuff. I was a part of the group of people that said it when it first went away. I was like, I look at a video, whether it's credible or not, by that ratio. It's so easy to put out crap information, and so many people are posting videos that are just like to get views with like the super meta YouTube like stylings, and delivering piss poor information to me. And I don't want to sit through 10 minutes of a freaking video before I find out that it's garbage. I want to know that the general public thinks this is either good or bad. And that's how we did. And it worked for years. I don't think it's negative. I don't think, I'm sure some people see, people that just decide to try to ratio you for unrelated reasons and stuff like that. But that is such a small issue compared to the utility for the viewer of what a dislike number does.
Yeah, obviously that decision was driven by watch time, advertising dollars. There's going to be some... The thing is, yes, a lot of people use the dislike ratio and the dislike button to help navigate what content is good or bad. But like I said, I don't know what's going to happen here, because as far as I heard, maybe I'm wrong, that she's being promoted to a different part of Google. And it doesn't necessarily ring any bells to me that might say big change is coming. You know what I mean? So this isn't a story that makes me think that there's going to be something coming for users to be excited about.
Well, here's another thing. Quarter over quarter, two in a row, their revenue is down. And the guy who's stepping in, Neil Mohan, he's the senior advertising and product executive, which is huge. Like, I don't know, I'd like to see what would happen. I'm open to any change at the moment, so long as it stays away from like, hey, now I have to pay for YouTube as well. Because like, I can tell you right now, once all of these platforms are paid, I'm going to pick one.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I'm not going to spend $120 a year or a month, like, so, thousands of dollars a year, just so I can have discoverability on social media. At that point, it stops being important to me. And it'll only be important to like creators and stuff. And if the audiences dwindle, then like, I don't know, maybe this could produce like better ecosystems within certain platforms. If people tend to not be so crappy if they have to pay. But it closes a lot of doors for a lot of people. And I don't like the idea that my work or things that I make can't just be for everyone. That sucks.
It does suck. And I can't help but feel, at least in Meta's case, like this is a decision that resulted from burning billions of dollars on the metaverse. And it almost feels like we're now having to pay for their bad management. Like, we don't get really a benefit. Nobody benefits, and they're going to continue to burn billions of dollars building this platform that seemingly doesn't hold any value.
Yeah, I'm sure that might be a part of it, but I think it's still a weak argument for their why. I think it was literally that, this is very successful at Twitter. I think we're just going to do it on Instagram.
You think they thought it was very
money.
successful? Because I think a lot of people weren't quite sure.
It's very successful. I see most of the people I follow now, they all pay for Twitter Blue. Like, and this is almost across the board. Everybody who like actually is a content creator, I rarely see somebody without a blue check on Twitter. And I tell you, I love it. I use Twitter daily. I'm on there that's where I get a lot of info. That's where honestly, that's where I've been seeing a lot of my favorite photography recently. It's a pretty solid community. But people, as much as there was like a month where everyone was just shitting on Elon, all the people that didn't like the changes are still all on there and they pay for it.
And that's deleted my Twitter last year.
Yeah.
I'm just not even in the space anymore. Well, to begin with, I never used it. I never quite understood it. I guess I'm a little old school in that way, and it just never had value to me. So I deleted it, like 5 months ago.
It's where a bunch of the creator conversations happen for YouTube. Like, because YouTube doesn't have a component that allows creators to communicate very openly and easily unless you're commenting on people's videos, which is stupid. So I think just about every single one of the YouTubers that I frequently watch, I follow them on Twitter, and that's where I get a lot more information, and that's how I can communicate with them. I get to communicate with almost all of them. I've spoken to most of the YouTube creators that I like, when it's when there's something applicable or like I can have something to say or I have a question or whatever, and generally they get back to me. You know what I mean? That's pretty crazy. It's a super powerful platform.
It is,
but they all pay for it. So I don't know. And Facebook was like, I guess we're gonna get that bag because people are gonna pay for this. Once you think, it doesn't even matter if everybody feels like us. There's a version of me that if I feel like I need it because it would affect me somehow, get clients or whatever, I'm paying for Instagram.
Yeah.
Because if it's going to be pay to win, like you're like a lot. Fortunately, I don't think I'm going to have to. Will the company I work for do it? I'm going to look at if it's beneficial. And if it is, then we're gonna. Because it's a small price to pay for a profitable company to do. Yeah. But for somebody trying to, cut into the industry and just be a photographer in general and want to share good art, like, now you basically have a dead account unless you pay for it, probably. Like, how do you get good engagement? It's already numbed to good engagement anyway. I complain about this every freaking episode, but man, the engagement on Instagram's garbage. People aren't there to look at photos and art. It's like, I use it as my primary messenger, so I'm part of the problem. But
Mhm.
like, I use it to look at stories and message people.
Yeah.
All of my friends know that that's how they can text me. They don't text me through my phone app because I won't get back to them. I'll get back to them on Instagram because I'm already there for work anyway.
Yep. Yeah, it's rough, man. I'm not looking forward to it. Like I said, I pretty much hate every part of this. I will begrudgingly probably pay for this, and I hate that I will. Because I'm gonna feel like I have to, because I'm gonna be on the platform regardless.
Yeah. So what happens if YouTube does it?
It's gonna suck, and I have to choose because I can't. Yeah, because like you said, I can't. If Meta will take this $12 a month and apply it to both like linked accounts, like a Facebook and an Instagram version, if they're linked in the business suite or whatever, that's gonna soften the blow a little bit, and I'll be like, okay, cool. Both accounts are gonna benefit. If YouTube does it, goodness, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. If YouTube does it, they better bake in a version of Twitter into YouTube where we can have actual social like conversations and stuff. Because just having a shorts feed and a video feed with like no real community engagement, they have like their community posts and stuff. It is not the same. It is not very user friendly. From the cell phone app, which I don't watch YouTube on my phone, but I go in there to make sure I understand the user experience and how people are seeing things. It is not easy to go there for community posts. That's not really an option.
Mhm.
So super interesting. It's a mess. It's a damn nightmare.
It sure is.
But I suppose we'll see. I don't have a lot of rumors this week, which is nice. But I do have some feelings about the Tamron 20 to 50 F2 rumors being fake.
Oh, I did not
Did
see
you?
that.
Okay, that's not a real lens, and it's not going to be a real lens.
What?
It was a fake image, and it makes perfect sense. I don't think Tamron has it in them to make a probably $2,000 lens because it would be very expensive. Um, it would be better than it's a better formula for the photographer and probably the videographer than the 28 to 70 f2. It would be large as hell. Um, and the closest thing we have to it that lets me know how large it would be, how expensive it would be, and how hard it would be to produce is Sigma made the 24 to 35 f2, which is a stellar lens if you're back on the DSLR world. I know a lot of people that used it. It's basically like having a 24 and 35 mil prime because it's as sharp as Sigma's known for, and it was a really stellar lens. But it was chunky and it was heavy, and it was only 24 to 35. So imagine a 20 to 50 that is only 20 millimeters at the long end shorter than the 20 to 70 f4. And we're talking an f2. This lens would be a megalith.
Mm-hmm.
It would be fat, and it would be very expensive. It would probably cost more than their 35 to 150.
Probably.
So like, when of course it was fake. And and it would just be like it would just eat their 20 to 40 f2.8. And we also know how big that is.
Yeah.
It's relatively compact, but it's 2.8. It doesn't have the extra 10 mils. It suffers from distortion. I don't love Tamron's build quality personally, so I wasn't confident in such a fat piece of glass being f2 in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it was on as specs go, an exciting prospect. But you're right. It's easy to see that it being fake. That's not surprising. You're right. It would have been a huge lens. It would have been hugely expensive. And could Tamron pull it off and not make it a terrible quality piece of glass? I don't know. The physics would be very, very tough for them. That being said, they've been on a streak lately of putting out glass that's a little innovative, a little out of the norm that some of the first party glass is used to. And we've talked about it in the past, whether that's to just kind of make sure that they have an in with some of these other systems. I don't know. So I was optimistic, I'll say.
Yeah,
to see
for
this
sure.
is fake, I'm not super surprised.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it is a little bit of a bummer. I would love to see Sigma do it because I would buy a Sigma. I don't think I'd buy a Tamron. I'd
Yeah.
be worried with that size of a lens from Tamron I had the Sony G Master 135, and with the plastic front filter thread ring and stuff like that, that's a heavy piece of glass,
Mm.
and it's really easy to break.
Mm.
Um, which is, their plastic bodies are not really that sick. I haven't handled the 35 to 150 myself. I'm sure that's a little improved. It's a pretty high end piece of glass, but as far as their like normal 28 to 75 and 17 to 28 and their 70 to 180 or whatever, it's
Yeah.
it's not really confidence inducing. So again, yeah, it's not surprising. But I do love when we see something kind of weird. I still think the 20 to 40 is a super interesting lens. Um,
Yeah.
though, because I don't really need 2.8, the Sony 20 to 70 kind of crushes it in my opinion. But it
Yeah.
was cool to see. I was happy to see that they did something like that because I'm sure a lot of people will use it.
Yeah, and for this lens, the frequent topic was what a great lens for travel, and until you realize just how massive and heavy it would probably have to be, right? Like, kind
Yeah.
of defeats the purpose of travel. Travel tends to be lightweight and easy to carry, and it would have to be a lens that would not be. So, it makes sense. It definitely
Yeah.
makes sense that it just couldn't be.
As far as a segue for size and shape go, I am currently shooting on the 14 to 24, and I am not keeping this lens.
Oh,
It's a thick lens. I don't think the zoom range is such that I care. I'm pretty interested in the 16 to 28 f2.8 from Sigma. Um, it's a pretty compelling little lens. After I've gotten some decent time with the 28 to 70, I'm pretty impressed with their contemporary zoom, and pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and try to cop a 16 to 28 2.8 in the nearest future after I move this thing. But I have some plans for this. I also have some other big gear plans. I'm going to be shifting some stuff around, doing some pretty crazy things. So that'll probably be a topic of the next episode because I have some plans to do this week. But yeah, the 1424 and I are just not getting along. I don't think 14 to 16 is my realm. Um, it's all stuff that I would rather use my iPhone's ultra wide for, and I love the ultra wide on the iPhone 13 Pro. Um, it's half the reason I like the iPhone in general is that ultra wide lens.
yeah.
Um, so it's a really hard sell for me. I was interested in getting the rear filters and like really giving this a go, but it's too chunky and too wide. Not for me.
That's all right. I mean, I was curious how it was going with the lens, and I didn't expect you to drop a bomb like that right away. But have you considered taking it out just kind of leisurely, doing some photo stuff with it?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna do some stuff this week. And I'm thinking about probably chopping together either a couple of shorts about it or like a short video. I want to start pumping out some photo video content again on the channel, and that seems like a good place to start. But it's I don't like carrying it around. I already know that I don't like for the focal range how big it is. The thing is heavy and chunky. So like I like to run around with a little sling and just my one body in a sling. Usually I take one lens or two. I usually have one on the body, and I'll take like my 40 mil. It used to be the 85, a just in case prime as kind of my shtick.
Sure.
But it is not the one to put on the body, and it certainly isn't going to be tucked in the bag if as a just in case because it's so large.
Yeah.
Yeah, I often don't need anything wider than the 28 at work, so.
So yeah, I like playing with the wide stuff, especially for like astrophotography, which is something I know you don't really do. But getting the wide, I like the wide stuff, especially when you've got like a subject that you can really play with and stretch and use the distortion to your advantage, just for creative purposes. For work like you, I understand that might not be super practical. So I get
Yeah.
it.
It's just the size because like I wouldn't want to hike with the thing either. You know what I mean? Because I
Yeah.
know if I'm hiking, I'm having my 70 to 200 with me. I learned in 2 trips now between the Philippines and doing one hike without it that like just take the fucking lens you love, like just take it.
Yeah.
So that thing always gets packed. So there's not really much room for it. I would rather for a wide angle lens for even astro or even for just like landscapes, a much smaller wide. So I'm probably going to play around with that 16 to 24. I played with trying to get my 20 mil 1.8 back. I do have breathing compensation now, so it could be a little bit more useful to me. But we'll see what happens. Tell me about how that shoot went with you used I assume the A7C as well as your A7 IV for the tourism board shoot, yeah.
I did, and I like it. Let me tell you why. And it's such a small little thing. This means nothing to the actual practicality of the shoot. It's got one of the best shutter sounds of a camera I've ever used. The
Right
click
on.
on it is so like you can feel it. It's so tactile. You press the button, ka-tunk, ka-tunk. It feels like the D850 almost, like just so I don't know. It's like not even like a it doesn't have anything to do with how I can get the job done, but usability, I was like, oh, this is satisfying. To that end, I put the 85 on it. We talked before about how I'd use these two cameras together, and I always thought I would instinctively put the 85 on the A7 IV with better autofocus. However, I put it on the A7C just to test it out, and it performed very well. In fact, I think it performed better than the A7 III. It was very sticky for my subjects, which wasn't too difficult. We're talking about 85 at basically f2, so I didn't have a hard time doing either full body shots with a couple, so like two people, so I'm back probably like 20 feet or so, or pulling up close to like chest high shots and getting like the sunset in the background. And it seemed to me it was very, very good performing in a low light situation. I was shooting like I said, 85, about 500 shutter speed, f2, so we were anywhere in the neighborhood of like 1600, 3200 ISO, depending. It performed. I was very happy, and I haven't looked at the images yet, but back of the screen, I can tell you like 75% of the total images from the shoot were on the A7C. We were very happy with what that was producing. I was showing my contact, because she usually is on these shoots with me when they involve people that she brings in. And I was showing her images going, hey, I think we've recreated the magic of last year, showing her the back of the screen. So it went really well. And I can update you next week on how the images turned out.
Yeah, I'd be curious because, like, obviously I don't expect the ISO performance to be quite as good as the A7 IV. So I'm interested to hear how it looks at 3200. But I mean, it should be close. It should be pretty good. I shoot up to 6400 with pretty much all my cameras pretty easily.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so a full stop is probably nothing crazy. But that's cool. I also am curious. Have you done any like slower shutter handheld stuff with that? Because I am curious if that gnarlier shutter would produce some kind of shake. Because it's a smaller, lighter body and a heavier like sounding shutter.
I haven't. I kept the ISO up so I could avoid having any issue with that on a professional shoot. That's just
Yeah,
where my
I would have
mind
done the
went
same
right
for
away.
sure.
With
Yeah,
wildlife, it's going to be a different story. So I can test out maybe one of these days the 150 to 600 on the A7C and give that a try, because definitely, especially if I'm out for a sunrise, I'm starting off at like ISO 10,000 and then adjusting basically every 15 minutes to the way the light changes, which often involves keeping the shutter speed about as low as possible without intentionally making sure that there's some camera shake. So I can definitely test that out, see how that goes for sure. I wouldn't normally put myself in that kind of situation for like product or on a actual gig, but it is an interesting topic. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I'd just be curious. Like, it is a lighter body. I wouldn't expect it to, the heavier that body's going to be, the harder it's going to be to shake it, right?
Yeah.
I would probably just do at 150, 300, and 600 towards like the reciprocity rule, right? Just like try it at like 1/150th, 1/300th, 1/600th at those focal lengths and see how it does. Something to at least note, because if it is an issue, then if you know ahead of time to always avoid it, it's not a big deal. Obviously, I don't mind. I like a shutter. That's why I like my Zenit for film camera, because it basically sounds like a Pentax 6.7.
Yeah.
And it's a 35 mil camera. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad it's working out though.
Yeah, I
Like
like
I said,
it.
I'm
I like it.
gonna be excited to see what those images look like. It's gotten
too.
me. There's a couple of things that, again, I'll talk about my gear woes in either the next episode or the following, but it's got me really hopeful for an A7C too. Just cause, you know.
Just cause. Yeah.
I can at least say I've been doing most of my stuff at work right now with the pair of A7 IVs. And my A7S2 or 3 rather is kind of just sat in the bag all the time, and it's like, hey, bud, you wanna do a thing? But I'm often switching between photos and videos, so I default unless I need 120 or unless I need like to make sure I minimize rolling shutter, I just grab my A7 IV.
It's quite the asset to be using so infrequently these days.
Yeah, like it's right now it's still worth almost $3,000, so it's got me wondering if you know I round out my kit in other ways for now, because I don't need 2 bodies at my job because I have one matching body with works body. And in a pinch, I do have a full spectrum modified A7S II, and I have the proper filters to block out all the IR and all the other stuff, so it can look like a normal camera, which is pretty tight. Makes it quite versatile. So I have 4 cameras kicking around that I got access to. Starts to make me wonder what I'm gonna do, but
yeah.
Well, right on. I think that's all I got for the show today. We both had a couple of technical issues, so I'm gonna have to chop this up decently. But I'm excited for this next week. I got some photo stuff happening. I got some marketing stuff happening. We'll get into maybe the nitty gritty of some business stuff, and we'll talk. I wanna do a little bit more about talking about some of the coffee stuff next week. That'll be a topic on my end as well. So let's make it happen. If you're still sticking around, listening to this episode, thank you. We appreciate you. Go ahead and send us some messages and stuff. There is a Light Over Time Instagram. I don't really use it yet, so go ahead and follow David and I on our Instagrams. He also has one for his coffee you should check out. All of those links are in the show notes. And then go ahead and check out our channels, because we'll both probably be releasing some new stuff soon.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. See you later.